Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new episode of Juno Live, direct from rainy Zurich and my kitchen. I hope everything and everyone is alright. And yeah, today we gonna have a bit like a special episode, assuming someone is watching the stream. And yeah, so as you may know, I'm planning to propose a SNS for Juno or to turn Juno DAO. Yeah, so if I can shorten why, um, the ecosystem on the platform Juno is providing code and smart contracts and tools for developers, and while of course I guess most people, I hope, trust me when I deliver code, um, I think it will strengthen and amplify that trust by making Juno itself be a DAO. And the second thing too is like Juno is really paying attention to giving full control to the developer. That means that I, David, have, as I told many times, no control whatsoever on what people are building on Juno. And I think it would be a bit like, I don't know what's the English word, let's say stupid, to say, yeah, look, that you have full control, but actually the front end of the administration console is controlled by a central person. But just like, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, that's why I want to turn Juno DAO. And the process is the following. So last week I announced the intention. If you land in that video, I guess you subscribed in some ways on the news of Juno, but if you don't, you can join the newsletter or follow on Twitter what we do. I've published a white paper with all the ideas I got in mind. So if you got question, please feel free to ping me now. Otherwise, ping me anytime on any channel. And yeah, the next step's gonna be like in, let's say, a bit more, roughly 2 weeks from now, to create a proposal. Hi, Andreas. Hi, Eric, by the way. To create a proposal so that people can vote if the initial parameters are okay or not okay, if we want that swap to happen or not. Yeah, money, right. And if that swap happened, then I don't know yet exactly what parameter I would say, but let's say a few days later or a few hours later, I don't know, like if it's executed, then a swap will be scheduled, which is basically, yeah, I guess everybody in the chat knows what it is, but it's like a crowdfunding basically that will last 2 weeks, I think, and the result of the crowdfunding is either Juno becomes a DAO or Juno becomes nothing, and yeah, I don't see a path forward without Juno being a DAO. So it means that if it fails, the project will be discontinued. Um, but of course, like for everybody that already use the platform, I'm not gonna plug the switch like one day to the other. In any case, even if I shut down the console, everybody is still gonna be able to do whatever they want because I don't own anything. But nevertheless, I will provide enough time and enough support as much as I can to help people transition. So yeah, that's basically the plan. Let's see. I don't know if anyone has question. All right. I never know. There is always like a slight delay between when I'm talking and when people are interacting. So I'm just gonna assume that there is maybe no question and everything is crystal clear. Anyway, you can always ping me anytime. And what we're gonna do instead is I was thinking that we can. Ah, I'm glad to hear that it makes sense. Thanks a lot. Yeah, like actually, like fun fact is like building the white paper was kind of work actually. If maybe as a tips I can give if any one of you wants someday to make your SNS, um, I think it took me like almost a month to write the white paper. Not like it's not like I worked 100% on it, but it was like thinking at it, searching, and like I basically read or went through most of the SNS white paper that are out. I checked what they are for initial parameters and so on, and then I read many white paper to see what are the structure, what information yeah. Anyway, if you ever make a SNS, don't underestimate the time you're gonna need to write a white paper. Yeah, but yeah, and then you should. My dad was the first person to read the white paper, and then it was really funny. He wrote me an email. He was, you David, I read that chapter, like I translated it with ChatGPT, but is that correct? That number? It doesn't seem accurate. And I had a look, and in fact, he was correct. There were like 5% difference in some calculation. I was like, ah, yeah, sorry. And yeah, well, really funny that he found that, even though he doesn't speak English. Anyway, um, yeah, sorry. Um, in my mind. All right. So last week we already started a bit like the SSR topic by trying to pre-render an image from a satellite. I don't know if you remember, like we did that. We generated that beautiful image here in a in a in a in a serverless function. So the idea was that when a document is what was not well, yeah, was no document is created, that the image was generated. And then I noticed that this week there was also many question in the community, not just Juno, like on the ICA generally speaking, about server-side rendering, and that's kind of like a subject that comes often. And I thought, yeah, maybe like as a next step, it would be interesting to try to generate a, an HTML page on the fly within a satellite, because if we have a look to our example, so what we are building, start that. Let's take a big screen. So is it up? Yes. So if we have a look at what we are building here, we are actually creating like public event. Like we create super party, super event, and then we set a date, and then we create an event, and then when that is created, we actually share a link to whatever should come to the party. So, and I was thinking, yeah, maybe as an example, what we can do is instead of having this using a query parameter and having like a static pages, we can maybe try to generate that on the fly. And yeah, so on the IC, for a long time I always say it's not possible to have SSR. And then I transitioned to saying it's possible, but with trade-off. And maybe I just want to explain first what's the trade-off for me. So if we take what's done, generally speaking, like with SSR, regardless of what is done, it's like you have like you have a client, a browser, right? I mean, on the web, huh? Well, I'm not gonna anyway. So you have a client that queries a server, right? And instead of returning directly the static pages, when we discuss server-side rendering, we say, okay, so instead of returning that, what the server does, let's do it like that, yeah, really beautiful. It's the server starts do some logic, and then actually renders or generate on the fly the answer, take this back, and then send it back as a dynamic answer, okay? This allows, for example, in our case, that would mean like querying that particular event, and then the server here loads the event, update the HTML page, for example, with the right title, and send it that back to the type to the client. And to replicate that on the IC, what some have done is that they use an update code to do that. Okay, so I switched a step, but let's now say that this is the IC, okay? Now this is a smart contract. So when your smart contract answer with a static page, it's actually use something called like the HTTP request endpoints, okay? So we can have a look at the specification. Somewhere we're gonna find the HTTP request in the spec, right? And what is done is when you have an HTTP request, it takes a file, which is often like a blob in memory. It also takes a certificate. I summarize, huh? And then it sends those information back. And what's done is either if the client has a proxy running on the machine, or if it goes through the boundary node and there is no other things, like that certificate will be tested to be sure that there is no malicious actor in the system. And that's the way the IC can validate that an answer is not compromised. And also the way the IC can deliver that answer really quickly. So because the file is already there and the certificate is already validated on the IC, it can answer with a static content, which is actually a query. I guess you heard that name. Oopla. And what's generally done to replicate this in terms when someone wants to implement SSR, because this is always equal to a query. One thing you can do is within the logic of that HTTP request, you can say, no, but actually I want to transform my answer into an update. Then you give the answer, and then you're gonna have something like a second kick, basically, which is gonna be the HTTP update, where here you're gonna be able to compute the certificate. And then here, doing that, you are able to answer with a dynamic content, which ultimately is an update. So that way, you have replicated that logic of having like server-side rendering, because you have generated something dynamically and you have sent that back. However, there is a trade-off. It's not a query anymore, it's an update. Means you have to pay cycles for that. So one way to not pay too much cycles is to have a cache. But before saying that, another thing is cycles and also time. Like a query is basically as fast as anything on the web. An update takes what, 2 seconds or 4 seconds? So yes, it's server-side rendering, but no, it's not as fast as server-side rendering on web 2. So what you can do is you can, to mitigate those two issues, you can here build a cache where you put that file and that certificate in a local, kind of local, in your smart contract cache, and you say, okay, the next time there is the same request, then you serve the cache, and that way the cache can be used to serve a query. So basically you have like a mix of the two. Yeah, that works. The only thing is that, yeah, as I say, like it means that either you have a cron somewhere that generates those files on the fly, or it means that the first client that requests a new file gonna have a slower answer. And that's the part that I'm not a fan of personally, because to me it's like server-side rendering should be fast. And also because the first that requests the file might be, I don't know, might be a crawler, it might be Google. So, and if they get the answer too slowly, they might, then you might have like a bad ranking in terms of SEO. So yeah, long story short, it's not my favorite solution. Not speaking of the fact that here on that level, on this HTTP request, you don't have any control. So that means that it's anonymous call. So like a bad client can just start generating URL and then always generate update calls and so on and so on. Really easy. So yeah, long story short, that's not what we're gonna implement. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do that. So in our application, the client will generate an event as we do. And when that document is created, the serverless function will kick with a hook. And then within our serverless function here, we're gonna render the HTML page. Okay. So at this point here, that answer is has already happened. So these two here goes together, right? And that's something asynchronous where we render the page and we save the page, certificate, etc. within the memory, so that sometimes where that client or another client query that particular event, instead of generating now the update, here we're just gonna answer with the static end query. So the trade-off here is there are two. It's like, but it's the same as usual. So just at this point, just a one trade-off is that while the page is rendered, if this call happen at the same times, then here this answer may be a 404. But in our case here, it's like I create an event, and then when I finish the event, I copy the link, and then I send the link to my friends or open it. It's like there is UX-wise enough time to generate the page. I hope that's kind of clear. I just wanted to explain a bit. Maybe along the way there will be some other trade-off, but yeah, that's basically it. All right? Okay. As always, if there is any question, you ask me anytime. So as always, I spend a part of my, like every Sunday, those days, I spend a part of my Sunday building that. But as you see, it was way less complicated than last week. I just needed 3 commits, so that wasn't too tricky. The tricky part was actually not related to Juno, but related to SvelteKit, because I never had generated dynamic pages within the app, because our application right now is a pre-rendered app. We are using the adapter static. So within that adapter static, we want to inject a page that is not dynamic. So that was a bit the tricky part. So let's do that. So what I have to do is, no, not that, that's good. So I'm gonna compare the pages. I'm gonna skip a bit. So what we need, okay, compare. So we got SSR, so we're gonna take this. Hey. All right, so what we have done is, we're gonna see that later. In the public page, where was I? Here, in that page, instead of having event, question mark, query param, blah, 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 the query, what I've done is the event now gonna get a slug, and in the slug, we're gonna have the page. So I want to go from here to there, right? Okay. So what I've done is here in that particular page, I think that's not, I've changed the loader to, no, that was not updated, which is kind of weird. Layout, page. Okay. Ah, it's because I need to update that. We used to get the search param get, so we used to take this. So now we need to take the slug. So to do that in SvelteKit, we just switch from search params to event, and just gonna check that it's working out. So when I browse this page, event slash slug, here I should have the slug. All right. Okay. So again, that's not really related to the question. And another problem that I had is that what I wanted to achieve, I wanted to be able to build the project and generate an HTML page for that slug. Because my idea is the following. Here in that render page, we want to have an HTML page and then render the real page with the data updated. So I want template to do that. And so what I want to do is I want to take the template. I want to take a document, and the two together should produce an HTML page that I save in the satellite. So to have that template, I can hard code it in my satellites, but I just thought rather than hard coding that, I can generate an HTML page with my front-end app. I upload that to the satellites, and then in the serverless function, we read the template we have automatically uploaded. So that's why it was a bit tricky to find how to do that with SvelteKit. But basically what I do is here I have like a page server page where I can give a list of pre-rendered page, and I say, okay, I want to pre-render a page that is called sample with my page. And that way here in my output folder, I see that sample page, right? So what we're gonna do is in our serverless function, we're gonna read that sample page. Yeah, long story short. So, oopla, sorry. Okay, so I've built, I got that template. Now we are developing locally. So what what I need to do is upload, deploy my front end locally. And currently, Eric, nice to have joined the call. Currently, there is no way yeah, there is a way, but there is no out of the box way to deploy your front end locally in the Juno Docker. So if you want to do that, you have to fork the CLI and build the CLI to work locally. So I know to do that, and I'm not aware of anyone who need it. So just ping me if anyone needs it anytime, and then we add a function to do that, and it's resolved. So just the things to do. Okay, right. So in that particular project, I just gonna tweak it a bit by we're gonna force it to go to the satellite ID that I use locally, and here we're gonna come to that in 2 seconds. So that's the URL to my local CLI, right? And when I run it, I've got like a controller, a local controller. So what do I need to do is also I need to set up the controller so that I can deploy locally to my things. So again, it just all the code is here. If anyone needs it, We can write a blog post about it. We can add function in the CLI. We can do everything. Everything is already there. Just ask. So you see, just like here, I did like a standard deployment. And another things that I want to do, I want to remove that because we don't use it. And I also want to force my my front end to always use local development, and that's why here I've set the controller to. So here I go again, and I'm gonna deploy. All right, so at this point, if I go to my local environment here, and I say, okay, on localhost, I have the application, right? But I should find that event sample file, okay? Right, so it's here, okay? So what we want to do now is read that page with a serverless hook. When an event is created, change the title, and then put it back so that we can query it with that dig directly, okay? All right, so go in first. Okay, I'm gonna zoom. Super. So all right, so we already had like a generate social images. So what we want to do in addition to that is generate that new HTML page. So I'm gonna do this, and for consistency, I will follow the code I've made yesterday, and I'm gonna generate a new module with which I call pre-render. Okay, this tag took. Super. Okay, and here I pass the context. And here I say okay. And we gonna do the same logic as for the image. In our pre-render, we say if there was a data before, we do nothing because that means that's an update and we just want to generate an HTML page when it's created. We can choose to update it, but yeah, just do like that. All right, so print render start. So if we build, all right, it's updating. But if I create an event here now, I should have the print, right? Okay, you see, here we are in our pre-render. Okay. Now let's go further. So we want to have the key. That's the document that is generated. That's this key, right? And once we want that key, we also want to have that famous sample HTML page, right? We want to get this content. So what we do is we use this piece of code, which I'm gonna share and explain. So what does it do? get asset store comes from the serverless function. So is the function is like get document, it's like get asset, right? And we pass the satellite ID, meaning that we are the controller, the manager of this. And we use the collection DAP. So the collection DAP is the collection that is used when you do a Juno deploy, then everything lands in DAP. And you see here it's prefixed with a dash because every collection that have a dash are preserved collection. There is probably a constant somewhere, but I just thought, okay, I'm gonna do that. And here we have the path to the file that we want to get, all right? So when we have that, we can assert that it was found. And if it's not found, then it's not good. If it's found, it's good, right? And at this point, we have the asset, but we don't have the content yet, the blob, the byte array. So what we need to do is to call this other method, which I'm gonna copy everything, right? Oh, let's do one step after the other. So blob also comes from Juno, that's the vector, and get content chunk is the function that you can use that return the encoding. And the collection DAP comes from the heap because, you know, like on the heap, unlike on stable, it's serialized when you upgrade so that when you get when you request the content, it's directly there. So it's a bit faster. And hoopla, what did I do? Yeah. So a file can be chunked. For example, if you have, let's say, 10 mega, then you have multiple chunk of max, I think, 1,9 meg. And here, because for two reasons, because it's an exploration project, right? But also because I doubt that you're gonna have an HTML page that is so heavy. It's probably not good if your HTML is super heavy. So we're just gonna take the first element. That's everything we want because we know that that's enough for our HTML page. Of course, you can iterate and get more, but it just like doesn't make sense here. All right, so we got the blob, and if we got the blob, that's where we're gonna have some fun. But yeah, let's print just to be sure that we are here, and we can say yes, we have the blob. All right, so we have the sample HTML page as blob. Let's do like that. So that now. Yeah, all right. So it's just that that's not the right collection. 2 seconds. So this comes from collection. So that's another Juno create, the one that defines all the logic to create collection, their property, this kind of things. Sorry, wrong editor. So here we add collection. I was thinking maybe someday I should add all the script directly in the cargo toml so that people don't have to download those. Yeah, anyway. So just do that so that Rust Rover picks the library. Maybe there is another way, I don't know. And here now I can import that memory thing. All right. So if everything goes well, I should be able to compile. prepare, and if we do the test again, where were we? Here. If I do that, I should have, yes, we have the sample page as blob. Yes, yes, we have the sample page as blob. Funny. All right. Good. So to some extension, we already have the page. So do I render the, yeah, here you see I render the ID. So if I go here to that page, right now I should get an error. Now what do I do? It works. That's interesting. But that's not the right event. Hello world. That's the new ID, huh? I think. Correct? I think so. So if I go here. Ah, yeah, but I'm stupid. So here I'm locally, of course it works. But if I go to the version that is deployed, if I do that, you see, that doesn't work. Everything is crashing because there is no HTML page for that. Yeah, for 2 seconds I thought there was a bug again. All right, so, but now here at this point, we have the blob, we have the file. So even if we don't do anything, what we can try to do already is to generate that HTML page. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take this and put it here, and here I'm gonna explain you something interesting is that I'm just lazy because that piece of code to insert an asset, you know, like saying which collection, which path, which asset key, then defining the header, then uploading that file with the content is basically the same thing as we did last week, where we generated a page, and when the page was we generated an image, and when the image was generated, we have the full path, an asset key, blah blah blah, and then we just put the images in the smart contract. So if that would be a real application, I would refactor that function and pass the collection, the name, and the header or MIME type as parameter together with the blob, and that would be the same thing. But yeah, because I'm lazy, I'm just gonna copy it. And at this point, we can insert our file. So if I go where we had the blog, what I'm gonna do is here, I will insert it. All right. Okay. Okay. So now if we go back to here, we create an event. Oh, already done. And you see here it has created the page. So now if I take this ID and goes here, I should not have the error, but I should have the HTML page. Ta-da! Nice, huh? So refuse to execute script from is not executed the script main type checking is enabled. I may have some other issue, but that's not like the what I want to convey in any ways. So that's nice. At this point, I hope you are still following. There was a typo. Oh, sorry for that. Okay. Right. So we have the page. That's cool, but maybe now we want to update the title. So I found a crate to do that yesterday, and it comes with a small issue. So I think it's good that we try to do the same stuff. Ah, no, 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 I really wanted to generate the HTML. But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so I found that crate which is called Scraper. Yeah, I found. I mean, I asked ChatGPT to be honest again. So I'm gonna add this crate, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a function to edit the meta tag. So I'm just gonna compile it. I mean the we just want to edit it. So blah blah blah, and I'm gonna put the import at the top. So there and here we want to do that. Okay. So what I get the blob, then I want to edit the HTML page, get an edited blob, and then insert that edited blob in the satellites. And you see with that scraper things, we can convert our blob to string. So it's not super performant in that sense because here you start with a conversion first and then load something and then edit and then convert again. But yeah, I mean it's for demo purpose again. I guess you can probably solve that by, for example, in your HTML page, you add some placeholder and then you just replace placeholder with string and manipulation, and that will work too. But yeah, you still need to convert. Anyway, so here I load a document. In the document, I search for the title, and then if there is a title, if there is no title, I crash an error. If there is a title, I just replace it. Yeah, I don't think we should go in detail here, but now when I'm gonna build, I think there will be an issue. It should crash, I think. Yes. So you see here it crashes. Why? It's because, unfortunately, because we still have the code that we developed last week where we have the images and all the stuff. The satellites now, once JZPed, is more than 2 mega, and we have currently that limit of 2 mega. So, as I said last week, we can go up to 100 mega. That would mean that we have to use a chunk upload at the WASM and then tell the IC to use the chunk to install the WASM. And it's just that I did not have implemented it yet. So the first one that faced the issue just ping me, and then I'm gonna implement it. And yeah, I mean, of course, if I mean, like, yeah, or I can also implement it sooner if the SNS passes. I'm joking, but I mean, like, yeah, you know what I mean. So for demo purpose, what I gonna do right now, I just gonna uncomment the import here of the font. That way the satellite's gonna be a bit lighter and we are able to deploy. But then the other function doesn't work anymore, but we just want to have a try, right? So just slightly smaller, and I think it should work. Ah no, it's still too big. What a pity. All right. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. And here I just gonna remove the images. It's gonna be easier. like that, right? And I'm not sure if I should stop and restart, but come on. Yeah, way smaller. So now here it should update it. All right. And if I go to the event here, I'm gonna come my super, we're gonna say our super SNS, right? Let's like a super positive things. And here, if I take the HTML page, you see, oh no, it's called super super. That's a pity. What did I do? Hmm, yeah, I'm. Do I have like a mistake somewhere? Oop, yeah. Hmm, that's a bit weird. Ah, yeah, but of course, if I hardcode the title, then it will always be the same title. Yeah, I was always thinking that what did I do again, blah blah blah. So yeah, so what we do need to know is we need to get the title. So okay, so what we need to do is um, we should have types, right? So we need that events data. So we need to decode the data. So let's go here, and so I think it's gonna be content data dot after dot data. Yeah, there is way too much data in that data. Did I make something wrong? And get text. Ah, yeah, because we need. No, but no, we have the. No, 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 no. Wait, context. Doc context, we got the data, and the data is this one, which is after we got the doc, and in the doc we got the data. So this should work. Why? Ah, yeah, that wasn't too complicated. And okay, we got the data here, and where do we did the metadata? Here, huh? So here we're gonna pass the title, okay? So here we're gonna pass, what do I call that? Let's call it event. Event dot title, super, and here we're gonna have the title, which is here. All right, so uh, so oh super SNS, all capital now, really important. And here we have yoo-hoo! All right. It's always nice when it works at the end. So yeah, there is still a bit some trade-offs, of course. Like for example, you still generate things with update calls, and you see there are some manipulation, and also there is the question of what happens if the layout of that page changes. So it means that you have to re-render all the page that you have re-rendered, that you have pre-rendered. So you will have to create a job to do that. But I guess that's the same issue if you do server-side rendering. generally speaking. I mean, assuming that you have a cache. But yeah, the good things here, it's like you have some controls on when or not when the page is rendered. Right? So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for having joined the call. As always, if anyone has question, observation, ping me. And yeah, see you next week in the next call. Don't know what we're gonna do. We are already quite doing some cool stuff. So enjoy your week and see you around.